Hi everyone, this is Singh Jaini from the Digital Fifth. Today we are here together for a knowledge session on primarily focused on lending segment as such. Of course, we can talk a bit more in other areas as well. But I think lending segment has been really on a very fast radar. And the way it is moving is, I think, sometimes very difficult to comprehend what is happening and why it is happening and how do you control the whole framework. And many of you who are in the digital space also realize that the way products are getting created, it's very difficult to sort of structure it in your platform. It can be LOS, it can be a customer origination platform, LMS, collections, and entire pieces around that. I think in any organization, we just don't need 3 or 4 systems. We need more processes, more automations. Maybe we do a partnership with third parties. How do you ensure that you have a structure by which you can incorporate those nuances? I was talking to a very large player today on doing business, and they says whenever I partner with the NBFC, my biggest problem is that most of the time APIs are not working. If they're working, they're not working properly, and there's stuff like that. There are a bunch of issues we are calling out. Even today, very few entities are able to in an agile fashion. They are able to collaborate. Now, one of the concept which is coming is that should we go for a specialized product itself for loan origination or loan management or collections, or should we go for a low code platform which can help in accelerating this growth much faster? And when business comes across and says I need something else to be done, we sort of incorporate it fast and in a very quick manner, because if the rules of the games are changing, the process flows are changing. Maybe suddenly in our process we have to say that third party validation also has to be added. Now, in a old world scenario, the way we do it, it takes too much of time. So I think flows are a big problem right now. Now, what we have been hearing about is players like OutSystems in the market are solving these issues through their low-code platform. This particular session is sort of presented by Headfitted, which is OutSystems partner in the country. So we'll learn from their side as well. And of course, we have eminent leaders here who have done this implementation from a large NBFC or largest of the housing finance company or a new age NBFC's new age fintech. So I think we have the best of the groups possible here to learn from, and the best of the leaders. I'm so happy because I'm actually fortunate to have spoken to them before this session, and I seriously learned a lot of new stuff in last few days. So I want to share that information back with you. I'm from the Digital Fifth, and we are the knowledge partner for this session. I'll not waste time on who we are, but generally, I'll skip it literally, but we are primarily a fintech consultant in the country, and we work across primarily deep consulting with NBFCs, banks, and others. And we do a lot of partnership between banks and fintechs. We do tons of training, and we also do hiring only in this practice. I will not spend more time on this. We'll have to come back to content. And in this agenda of this today's session is about innovations and possibilities evolving in the market. So we want to talk about a broad level. And then, of course, what are the challenges we face when we sort of go forward with it? How a low-code platform can solve it? And of course, one of the critical questions always in mind of business and technology both is, should we build or we should buy? Build versus buy. So we'll also try to get a view on what should we do. Now, before we start, of course, we want to introduce speakers. Here we have the best of the speakers in the country. So I suggest we start the introduction. Individually you do, I'll do a wrong job if I speak about it. Over to you, Aditya, maybe you can quickly introduce yourself, and then we'll go to Malcolm and Shashank, and we'll go forward. And thanks a lot, all the speakers and all the participants for joining. Thank you. Let's go forward, Aditya.
Yeah, hi everyone. Good afternoon. So there's a good assembly of people who are all related to the lending business. I am from IIFL, Aditya Sisodia, and I lead the application development team at IIFL, and have been associated with IIFL NBFC business for the last 5 years now. So I've seen NBFC grow from a very small setup to the one that we have today. And we have been doing well in the last 1 year as well, where everyone was having issues. So IIFL as such is having products around gold loan at home, housing finance, personal loan, business loan. So we interact with a lot of different fintechs as well to achieve all these products, and the success is based on multiple collaborations that we have across the industry. So that's all from my side.
And one unique thing is that if you look at the annual report of IIFL, you'll be surprised that they've increased the productivity of their credit guys by 500% and the sales guys by 100%. So some of you want to figure out how they do. I think you have to do a one-on-one chat with them to figure out how they've done this magic, which I've not seen too many guys doing, but this is brilliant stuff. With this, we move to Malcolm. Malcolm, over to you.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Malcolm. I'm the CEO of Agrim Housing Finance. We are a housing finance company focused only for the informal and self-employed households. I think we are the only ones who give a 10-minute almost approval, which is almost 80% till a legal valuation. And we are trying to make ourselves unique in the way that we understand our profiles. So we do a lot of profile-based lending, and we have at present around 50 profiles. Something about myself, I have some 22 years experience, banking and financial services. I've been with various private sector companies, private sector banks, right from ICICI, Yes Bank, and foreign banks, Standard Chartered Bank, Scotia Bank, worked with Tatas. So that's my background. I'm also a keen marathoner. Not been able to do that lately.
You're a founder and you're also a marathon runner. Okay, I am a founder but not a marathoner, so there's only one overlap, right? And I want to figure out how do you guys do it, because I think mujhe pata hai ki every day I think I will do something, but I've not done it. But I'll learn from you. Thank you. So over to you, Shashank. Over to you, Shashank.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, all. Shashank here. I am presently at Edelweiss Finance Limited. I am heading tech engineering at Edelweiss. Have been in tech and fintech and innovation tech for about 27 years now. We are early adopters of our systems, and I'll share about the journey as we go further in the discussion. Thank you. Thank you,
Shashank. Over to you, Shweta.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Samir and Digital Fifth, for having me over here with such esteemed panelists. Talking about myself, I am CTO for Paul Merchants Group company, which is a financial services company, a Bombay Stock Exchange Limited listed company. And also, we have an NBFC in the name of Paul Merchants Finance Private Limited. I have been with the company since past 4 years, and I've worked very closely with the NBFC business team, and have been instrumental in setting up the digital lending business, which has been so-called like running in a beta mode as of today, but we are aggressively working towards the end-to-end digital journey of customers. So this is an interesting and relevant topic that we're going to discuss, and I'll share my experience, and I look forward to learning a lot from the panelists here. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the fact that you just built it is relevant, right? Because going ground up is different. We say ground up is easy a lot of times, but it's not that easy, right? Ground up, you assume that GL exists, right, in a normal world. When it is not there, how do you get bureaus in and all the APIs? Then once you've done it, you say, that is okay, right? But I think going through the journey itself is interesting. So thank you for joining us, Shweta. I think we'll move to Jyoti, to you as well, because I think you are also building something fresh. And again, on a slightly similar segment as Malcolm, but maybe a slightly different framework, because you come from the same background. I mean, Godrej is from the same background. You have a massive scale and you have a sort of two set of customers already on board. So over to you, Jyoti.
So thanks, Samir and team, for this opportunity. Good afternoon, all. I'm heading technology in Godrej Housing Finance, and we are one of the few companies who launched the business during the COVID time. So we launched the business during the COVID time last year, November. I've been there with the companies in past 2 years, and I have almost 25 years of experience in technology, and especially in the BFSI sector. So coming to the setup, technology setup and build versus buy and all those things, it would be very interesting to know the thought process, because right now, if you see, we are a kind of born in cloud type of architecture we are having, but especially during this time, the skill sets and the agility is actually becoming really big challenge. It would be interesting to discuss and understand from all of you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And Devang is the first guy I met in HDFC. I don't know what I was doing in my career, but I've never met a guy from HDFC, not HDFC Bank, HDFC. So I think it will be good to understand how do you keep everybody in secret, right? Not visible, but they're still doing massive innovation and the scale. Yeah, Devang.
So yeah, hi. We are a bit of a media shy organization that I work for. Yeah, we have been working since 1977 in the area of housing finance. We are the biggest housing finance service provider, and we have a loan book of around 5.7 trillion rupees, and we have around 8.6 million customers, which currently are our bread and butter, and they are heart of our soul. So and I have been associated with this wonderful organization since around 20 years, and yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. You don't look like that age, right? And I've seen your some of the videos as well online. So I think you are far more fun-loving than you make that age appears to be, right? So I think this is good. This is good. Amal, over to you. And Amal is everything which I am not, right? He's a hardcore techie and knows so much, right? So I think good to get your views as well, Amal. Over to you.
Thanks, Amin. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm representing Headfitted. I'm the CEO of Headfitted, which is basically a low-code niche services player. I've had the opportunity of working with a few of the MS.
Amal, your voice is coming a bit mumbled, right? So थोड़ा सा आवाज कम आ रहा है.
Is it better now? Hello.
Yeah, let's try.
Okay. Hi, my name is Amal Raj, and I am representing Headfitted here. I'm a hardcore techie. I've been there, done that kind of dabbled around with lots of technologies. And for the last 6 years, I've been looking at OutSystems in detail, and I had the opportunity of introducing OutSystems to a few of the eminent panelists here. Technology and biking are two of my passions, and today I'm here to share and learn from our collective experiences.
Thank you, Amal. So with this, we move on to the actual question set as well. So thanks everyone for joining us. I think I have done some of those roles which you are doing, and I know the toughest of the roles are when you are actually executing technology and processes, and suddenly business guys say, "Oh, I've found one more partner, and let's do something more." And you say, "Oh shit, what am I supposed to do?" And then they say, "Oh, this life cycle of the transaction is different, and we don't have EMI. It is actually frequency is different, and all of that." So I think it will be good to understand from your perspective how you are handling in this current arena. So the first question from my side is to Malcolm. I think Malcolm, you are building the business now. So from your perspective, what are the opportunities for innovation in the housing finance area? Because this is the area where you know the most, right? From as a CEO as well as from a technology perspective. So what are the innovations possible in the housing finance industry, which has been largely bereft of many, right? So over to you and get your guidance on that.
Yeah, so I have handled a lot of products, right from SME lending to credit cards and personal loans and housing, of course, in between. And if you ask me from the arena that is present today's market, I think largely SME lending unsecured has a lot of fintech presence. Largely credit cards is getting solved in the fintech area and the technology area. Largely personal loans is available instantaneously, literally. You get virtual cards, you get various things, but the mortgage piece, the home loans piece is something which has always had some history behind it, because it's one of the most complicated processes in finance, in lending, and it also has a lot of legacy issues. Like you can't get a virtual property document. Everything is physical. Even the lawyers and valuers want to see the property and see the papers and then only give a valuation. Unlike most of the countries which you go, be it Hong Kong, Singapore, the US and EU. So what we're trying to do is we are trying to be a tech mortgage tech provider, and most of the journeys are going to be digital. So when we started this company and we said that we will choose we have expertise in the most difficult segment, that is informal households. We said we'll give them the best possible experience, better than a salaried person, and we will do it in the easiest possible manner. For that, it required two things. I think in my mind, I think two key items. One is to have a great product, and the second is to have agility. Agility in your business, systems, people, and a lot of other things. You can't build agility in technology by having, wedded to a vendor many times. But you can have agility if you are wedded to an open source system or a low code system. You can have agility when you have someone supporting that and not really you are having a full. You are having no choice but to go only one way. So we've tried to imbibe that. We use a lot of open source low code systems. We try to ensure that in the housing finance industry, the full journey, and you'll be quite surprised that even today your code checks, your title documents, and everything can be done online. You need not really go, but we still do some double check in the physical area. But literally, I think it's just a matter of time that everything will be digital. So we want to be an early provider of that. We want to ensure that we have the ability and we have the agility to do that. And that's what we are looking at. So even in the type that we have in our systems, the type of products, the type of offerings that we do, the presence in location, the type of our own team members, our own people. Okay, when we get them on board, we are very clear that they come with a different mindset and not the traditional mindset. And everything is literally on the system. So today, if I have to sit anywhere, I have my laptop, my mobile, and my tiffin box. So that's the only physical thing that is there. You can't make that digital. But otherwise, I don't need anything else to get working. We can start in any place, sit in any location, and start off from anywhere. So that's what we aim to do at all times.
Excellent. So I think so. You are coming from a CEO as well as, of course, somebody who knows technology so much. Now let's move to Jyothi. I think you are setting up, and you say you're born in cloud, right? So what does it take? What is the scope of new technologies in this housing finance area, and what new, right? Because I think we always think that we will do approval, but when it comes to valuation and legal, it goes into a different loop, right? 7-10 दिन तो ऐसे ही चलेगा, right? और क्या होने वाला पता नहीं. So how are you solving all of those issues? And given that you have pre-approved properties as well, it will be slightly easier. So it will be good to understand how technology is getting used there.
So, Samir, actually, if you see that housing finance sector, as Malcolm also said, it is heavily, actually, there's so much documentation is there, and a lot of things are actually heavily the physical processes. But what we are seeing in that COVID time, and especially we launched during the COVID time, so the processes itself, we had to design in such a way that customer does not have to be contacted, and even our people should be able to operate from their home. So what happens is, in this entire thing, cloud is actually helped us in doing all this entire architecture setup, and there is it's a seamless transformation from office to work from home for our salespeople, and also the customers who are actually now are not very open to salespeople coming to their houses and then talking to them and then taking the physical papers from them and signing and giving it and all. So that process we have done a lot of automation through this video KYCs and video personal discussions and a lot of fintech integrations also. So this fintech integrations, as you rightly said, the technical evaluation and the field inspection and the legal verifications and all those things, we have used some fintech integrations in that one, which are actually helping us in launching the processes in an agile way. Now, having said that, what happens is, in this entire process, the more and more changes are coming in the loan onboarding process, LOS, you can say. So this is actually, as I think everybody must be, I think they may agree, I feel, if it is too much vendor dependent, you are losing the agility. So during this point in time, we can't have this kind of we don't have the luxury of losing the agility. So this is where we have done some kind of internal group, and we formed a small development group, and we are doing important integrations and important changes. We are getting it done through our in-house team. So that way, little bit agility, the challenges that we are overcoming. But this is also putting some kind of challenge, because we are going with the traditional development setups, which are in turn actually kind of demanding relevant skill set, and it is becoming really difficult to get those skill set people and retain them within the organization is really a big challenge. So this is where we are, and the journey continues, and I hope we will be able to overcome these challenges also soon. Yeah.
I think this hiring challenge is a serious challenge, right? Given that Mumbai is not easy to get, and I think I mean the kind of salaries market is offering to technology guys now. I think utna mere ko mil raha hota, so I would have been richer now. I wouldn't be working right now, but I think the things are different. But anyway, thanks Jyoti for this perspective, and we'll belabor or think to more on the hiring side as well, the skill set required when we move to sort of a low code platform. But let's move to Shweta. Shweta, you are building a fintech kind of environment, right? And it's ground up. Now, what does it take to build this, right? Because as a CTO, you're building right now. So what does it take to build the platform in a fintech way when you work with a slightly more, I think, a larger organization, which is very well funded? So how do you build it from a technology perspective?
So first of all, Samir, the question itself was very daunting when we started, because it is not that one fine day we decided that, okay, we're going to build our own platform. So this was a tough decision to make, and a company like Paul Merchants, which has been working in a very conventional, traditional way, that we have been offering services across the country through our retail outlets. Now, to first of all think of an innovative solution like a digital lending platform. And then we juggled a lot with existing off-the-shelf solution. We tried to, ride on any of the off-the-shelf solution available. And then we thought of we'll be able to, go to market in no time, and we'll be able to hit the market immediately, considering that COVID was supposedly a time when people would be interested in availing certain PLs. So we started the personal loan, small ticket size personal loan. But journey was extremely difficult, and then going forward, we decided that it is extremely difficult to take in a solution and start working on it, because you may have your own peculiar services, processes to offer, and not everything is customizable. There's a lot of reservation and restrictions when it comes to customizing an existing platform. So it was a period of good 1.5 years time when we ourselves evolved and understood how a digital lending platform should work. And then this realization came that it is not going to be easy to ride on any of the platforms, and we'll have to build something of our own. Now, again, we thinking that it will be like this again is not sufficient. We have to have a strong commitment from the top management as well. There has to be a proper budget set, and that mindset, first of all, apart from thinking of how to offer financial services, here we are talking about how to build a technology platform, which is definitely a very difficult question to answer ourselves. So I would say it has been interesting to first of all understand ourselves what we want, set processes, clearly defined processes. This is to be achieved, how to achieve it, what is the roadmap, and then look at the MVP. That if we need to go into the market, because business team, they are very restless, and they would say, okay, this is what I want. Now you tell me how much money you want, how many people you want to hire, and then what is the timeline like. And the timeline, you would be amazed to hear that the business team would always say, okay, 3 months, 6 months, you tell me the time. They are not ready to understand that it is not a small task. It is going to, and whoever I spoke to with the peers in the ecosystem, they were like, what kind of task you've taken up? Are you seriously, thinking of building something for you? And how could you say yes to such a humongous task? But then the realization was that we cannot operate with an existing application. We'll have to, indulge into this. So jumped into this somehow, and the journey still continues. I will not say that we are ready. We did a small prototype. It is running in the market. We got good traction and a lot of learning through that. It is still in an experimental phase, but it's going good. And we hope to someday launch our own platform. And then, of course, I'll share with the peers in the ecosystem how has been the journey. It is just the beginning, it feels still. Let us see how it goes.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a tough task. And one thing I've got a personal experience. So once upon a time I was a CTO. And in those days, when somebody will come up, first question I used to get asked, "Yaar, mera laptop kharab ho gaya." Tomorrow laptop kharab ho gaya, to CTO se kya matlab hai, right? What am I supposed to do? Then the other thing is, no, the business is changing. Can you ensure that what ICICI is doing, we do it? I said, boss, you want to compete with ICICI and all of them. On the other side, you want me to repair a PC, figure out what exactly are you looking at. So CTO's role is very awkward. You're supposed to know business. Okay, you're supposed to know business. If I know business, then I ask business questions. Then business doesn't like that questions, right? So I think it's a mix and match. This role of CTO is a sort of more of a CTO plus CDO and maybe something more. And at times you will know business more than maybe even the technology, the business guys as well. So I think you have a tough task, and best of luck. Best of luck. Yeah. So we will move to Devang.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. So we move to Devang. Devang, I think you are working at a scale where nobody else does in this segment, right? You're largest by a margin, right? Now, how do you manage the sort of ecosystem of innovation, right? सबको पता है कि सब चल रहा है, right? And the scale at which you operate, the digital will make iota of a difference at some point in time, right? So the question I have is, how do you keep the sort of ecosystem of innovation in such a large organization? That's what I really want to learn from you.
Right. So, Samir, what you rightly pointed out, just a while back, that you need to understand your business better than anyone. So, I think as a tech leaders or tech people, we need to really understand the business. That is a point blank no-brainer. Okay, and that now what happens in that is that as we grow along, if you see an organization like HDFC over 40 years, you tend to grow through the efficiencies in each and every small pieces of things. Okay. So, for example, currently, when you start initially, a guy would be doing end-to-end loan appraisal. Okay, but as we grow along, we find that if you have an efficient team, say 4 or 5 member team, just doing credit appraisal in a branch, and a 4 or 5 member team just doing legal, it makes more sense. Lawyers can look into legal, and credit appraisals, more business guys can look into that, and then we have different people handling sales. So as the organization grows, you will have these variety of small verticals that grow, and those are efficient in their own individual tasks. But when you see an end-to-end system, it becomes very difficult to bring in efficiency. So that can be only done, or that can be only achieved once we have a team of people across these verticals, and they come collaborate together to fulfill a business objective, to get the ROI and the TCO out of the entire product change or the innovation effort that we are going to do. So that house, and if you see, it is very important, as Malcolm pointed out, that you need to have agility. Even I think Jyoti as well touched upon it, that you need to have the agility. The agility can only come if there is an element of trust and there is a collaboration between different verticals in order to achieve a common business goal. So that's when probably the problem that Shweta is having trouble with to make business understand the process. Probably if one involves business little more in the solutioning perspective, maybe, but business is business at the end of the day. You will have that tough times or that friction, but yeah, it can be reduced to a certain extent. That's what I feel.
No, I agree. In fact,
so far I've answered.
I think one of the belief I will have is that in every organization, the number of employees is equal to the number of CTOs, right? Everybody knows what the CTO should do. Only the CTO doesn't know what he is supposed to do. Everybody will say, oh, Paytm has launched this. Oh, why are we not on cloud? I mean, okay, let's talk about it. Can we do it together? No. I think I just thought I've read some article in the paper and kind of stuff. So I think this is where the world is. So let's move to Aditya. Aditya, you are.
No, and just one thing to add, Samir, here, that if you throw the technical jargons to them, they will look at you as if what Greek language you're talking. And the moment you start talking in their language, like business terminology, they'll be very much interested. Okay, now the CTO is doing her job. So that is what is expected,
लेकिन ये तो है क्लाउड मुझसे ज्यादा मेरे बिजनेस वाले क्लाउड ज्यादा बोलते हैं. So I think they would have attended some of the conferences by Envirio would have cloud क्यों नहीं किया, ये क्यों नहीं किया, अरे बता दे तेरे को cloud क्या चाहिए, नहीं पता, but cloud चाहिए, right? But anyway, I think you know that it is required, but little knowledge is dangerous, right? Somewhere that's where the issue is. And let's move to Aditya. Aditya, you are part of a very large institution, and from a tech perspective, you are among the best in the market. Now, in this particular environment, how do you what kind of innovations do you see in the lending space? And of course, you have worked across spaces. You can talk about more as well. And how a low-code platform can help in sort of innovation, because we heard about some challenges as well with the legacy platform or even the new age but specialized platform. in customizing and changing. So how do you see the innovation happening in this market and how low code can help in scaling up?
Yeah. So in terms of innovation, see, the problems faced by our business is more related to what everybody is just now saying, is agility, speed to market, managing different stakeholders who IT tends to become the center focal point where everybody is coming in, and the thought process is probably consolidating at the IT end, where different businesses who all are thinking separately, but ultimately the goal of all of them is similar, and the IT team becomes the kind of the center focal point where all these thoughts are being stringed into a particular order and then executed. So managing these people from their expectation perspective, where speed of delivery is paramount, and also because these are very separate thought processes, so there has to be some way in which we can link these different thought processes seamlessly and as quickly as possible, keeping in mind that these things will change very frequently. So even though we are delivering at speed, we also have to take care of the flexibility and adaptability of these systems, because we all know business thought process will keep on changing. Every few months you will get something which you have never conceived of, and then the thought from their side would be that these things are so obvious and should have been thought of. But obviously we from the IT perspective think of those things as quite new, and we are very sometimes not able to adapt to them, and obviously there's a kind of friction there then. So considering all of this, I think low-code platforms come in these places, because then the threshold of change from the application perspective reduces, and you are more open to new thoughts and more open to changes as and when they are requested. So your connection with your business teams improve. Also, that your focus as a system administrator and as a manager of these systems moves more from the systems to the actual working of the system, how business is using them and how they want to change it. And probably with better business knowledge, we can also contribute in terms of how the business should use the systems, rather than just being the receiving end where we say that business tells us and we deliver what is to be done. So I think this is where it will come in. But I see a challenge in terms of, at least from my perspective, is that IIFL has been growing these systems from a very long time. And there are teams who are managing these systems. So the thought process change within the team is also a kind of challenge which we need to address, because the way you work with the low-code platforms differs a lot from how we traditionally have been doing these things. So I think there are both benefits and there are challenges to achieve that.
No, I agree. I think sometimes when you go back into your business, say that ये तो front end पे कर लो, तुम्हारे पास access है, they will say नहीं ये तो हमारा काम ही नहीं है, right? So it's, I think, the culture change which has to come in. If the values have to be changed, process can be changed from front end, you might as well do. But I think it's a culture change. We all go through. I'll give you a quick history. I used to be such a painful guy in my earlier role as a business guy. Twice in that period in my earlier days was moved from business to technology, saying that तुम इतना irritated कर रहा है, तुम ही कर लो, right? So I think that's a challenge. So yeah, I think this is good. I got your perspective. So let's move to Shashank. Shashank, you are an early adopter of low-code platform, and you run such a large organization. So I think I want to know from specifically from your side how these low-code platforms are helping in aligning technology better to the business requirements, right? How does it happen in such a large scale? I think that would be a great thing for us to learn.
See, I think if we if we compartmentalize the requirements loosely, so there is for any enterprise product development, we have the UI UX part, then we have CRUD operations, create, delete, restore, and all that stuff. You have a database container, you have QA QC, and you have CI/CD pipeline. So any solution that caters to all of these would be perhaps the ideal solution to pick, even within low-code platform, right? Or even that be conventional OpenStack or any other framework. What we actually did was that and on basis of that, basically is why we chose OutSystems as the preferred low-code platform, had it not been something else instead, right? So that was the psyche behind picking up that particular stack. I think what also helps is low-code by inherent nature promotes you to work in agile model, and it is a cultural shift more than any process shift. It encourages business people to define the business workflows, to define and be disciplined about what they want to deliver. It makes you start thinking on your MVPs instead of thinking on a project that is 6 to 12 months on a time window, and encourages you to start thinking on something that you conceptualize today and which will be a workable model for you available to play with within a span of 4 to 6 weeks from the day you started that idea. Correct? So I think that was the internal convincing that we did, which our business teams and our expos kind of adopted to. And that has given us phenomenal benefits. So today our time to value for business is actually a sprint plus 2 weeks, which is sprint plus QA and UX sign-off. So within 4 weeks to 5 weeks of the time of conceptualizing an idea, we have a workable piece of code, and people are pretty happy with that.
I think this is super, right? I think I've not seen that kind of agility. So मुझे आते हुए कुछ सीखना पड़ेगा आपसे, right? I think we keep informing something else. So मैं consulting में कुछ add करूँगा आपका component. I'll learn from you. Thanks. This is very, very useful. I think so. We move to Amal. Amal, I think it'd be good for everybody to understand. We are talking so much about low-code platform, but I think it will be good if you could define what low-code is all about and how it can apply to the lending space. So I think let's make that clarity what it is and how it is deployed, because based on your experience and depth.
Thanks, Samir. 2 questions in one. So let's start with the first one. I mean, what is
just one suggestion, Amal, maybe the device is making a bit of a muzzle word. Maybe we could want to remove that. It might just come out better. Yeah.
Is it better?
Yes, it is better.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Samir. So, I mean, the first part, I mean, let me talk about what is low code. I don't want to be preachy because I'm sure most of us have heard of low code in some form, rapid application. So I think to start out with the basic premise is that traditionally developing software is very expensive, hard, slow, and very difficult to change and time consuming. I think most of the panelists here have agreed and echoed the same sentiments. Now, what is it? It's basically, I mean, what we are doing is we are doing a manual process. We are automating, digitizing many stuff, but the actual process of doing it is very much manual. You need a bunch of developers, you need to have a lot of tech skills, and they keep changing, and you teach them, learn them, and then you start working. So that's how traditionally software development is. So low code is basically the process of applying automation to your software delivery. That's all it is. So what is it? Now a more formal definition could be that low codes typically are visual stacks, a full stack development where you do your, as Shashank was saying, your front end, back end, middleware, DevOps deployment, all of that in an automated way. So what does it mean? It's a visual way of developing software. So the focus is pulled away from the heavy lifting of technology, where you're focusing on solving the problem. That's how Shashank, as he mentioned, he's able to churn out ideas to MVPs in 4 to 6 weeks. So what we do is in using low-code platforms, we are basically extracting out and automating each step of this application lifecycle, both in the development side and also on the DevOps side. So, I mean, this is what I mean. So the moment you are managing your complexity, so what you get is, I mean, your time to market is reduced. And the key area here, as most of you all have echoed, it's managing change. I think that's what low code essentially is doing. I mean, it's taking out the complexity, making you more agile. I mean, we talked of improved agility in multiple aspects. And this is what low code platforms are bringing onto the table. Now to the second part where we talked about in the lending space. See, I mean, again, I come from the technology side, whereas others are practitioners. So they have said that a lot of time is getting into getting this paper-based and physical world where there's a lot of to and fro and a lot of energies. So roughly about 30 to 40% maybe of the resources are just spent into trying this problem. And on top of it, I mean, I'm just reading a Moody's Analytics report where they were asked what is the biggest challenge for bankers in the lending space. And about 56% of them have answered that it is basically the manual process of collection of data. And then the iterations you get to get meaningful information out of it. So well, there are lots of known challenges. So what we are saying is if you go about trying to solve them in the traditional way, I mean, it will not do. I mean, too much time, changing, too many variables to manage. So essentially what low-code platforms can help is they can help both the IT and the business. Maybe we'll talk in detail later. Both the help IT and the business to roll out solutions much quickly so that all the business stakeholders as well as your end customers are able to adapt to the new way of digital.
Excellent. So I think then, given that understanding in the market, welcome. I want to know, given that you've just implemented and gone live and have been doing well, what did it take to implement a technology platform, and what are challenges you face? So since you're fresh out of this whole game, challenges and what would you do differently if you were to go forward? Maybe that's also a set of question to you.
I think, see the challenges, I think there are much lesser challenges in using a low-code platform. Primarily because when we started the development of it, we decided that we were very clear that a few things have to be in place. One is it has to be configurable, not customized. Mm-hmm. And that I think will make things much easier for us. The second is should be front-end configurable so that anyone in the business or whatever the IT transition guy can always make the change or develop a product on the fly. The third is that we wanted it in an environment that is, it has to be open source. So it was developed on an open source platform. And the fourth was that we wanted to get everything right in planning before we implement it. So from that angle, by the time we actually started with the BRD and the understanding document and the the wireframes. Okay, I think that's where I think the maximum time took place because getting your wireframes and your flow right is I think the most important part. Where we spent a lot of time is when we were when wireframes, we decided that since these are low-code platforms, they don't come pre-filled with a lot of information like the traditional platforms. So you have to have all your masters, you have to have all your schemes, your list, your plans, your flows and everything. And many times we actually got stuck saying that some of the workflows in the low-code platform cannot be going into an endless loop. So we also found a certain workarounds around it without changing the nature of this platform. So while everything is configurable from the GUI perspective, I think the important thing is that housing is a very, very complicated business. I said it at the start. So there are various options, permutation and combinations are endless, and everyone in the business and credit and operations space has various requirements for every possibility. I think if you chop out the tail end of the possibility, the platform becomes so flexible and it is much more usable. And that's what we did. We actually try to avoid, extreme probabilities and possibilities, and we actually made the platform quite configurable. From a development perspective, I think we took around 2 months or so to get it in shape once we had the wireframes and everything in place. Because there was a lot of to and fro, and this was the first time we were doing it with a partner, and I think we actually realized, and they also realized that we need to understand each other more than understand the platform, because the platform was really quite easy. But if I had to do it again, given my learning, I'm not a hardcore tech guy. I think I could do it in 15-20 days. We could do it in 15-20 days. So that's the amount of agility that we have. But I think it was it's a fabulous learning that once you're on an open source low code system, We are, I mean, we know that we don't have to go back and forth to have any masters configured at the backend. We don't need to go and get back any product variant, any scheme type, any type of launch that we want to do in the market. All those things are quite possible once you have the reins of the horse with you. So if you have the reins of the horse with you, I think a lot of the agility is there with the business teams and with the credit and operations team. We try to do that so that we are not dependent on back and forth in back-end coding of a customizable solution. So that's my take on it.
Oh, but the way we are talking, अगर आपके जैसा कोई CEO मिल जाए CTO को तो दिमाग खराब हो जाएगा. You are as good as a CTO, right? So how I think they will have, your team would have a tough time. Or do you have a CTO or you do both the roles?
No, we have an in-house CTO, but he's come in later after the system has developed. So, but I think it was good that we actually did it because unless a business guy is actually developing a part and parcel of the wireframe development at least, and the business understanding document, then life is much easier.
Yeah, so capabilities that need to be understood by them, otherwise सब कुछ हवा हो जाता है.
Yeah, because they are always generally involved in only the BRD at the most and not the wireframe document. I think once they know how the flow is expected and how exactly they can configure it, I think there's a huge buy-in from everyone. And I think we spent endless nights just on this, just on getting what we want from the platform right. I think more than executing on the platform, planning what exactly are your priorities is really, really important, because if you get it wrong, then you're stuck with it for life many times. Especially if you had done customizable stuff, then you're literally dependent on any change on someone else. So that's what we had put our set up priority list at the start.
Nice. I think if it is 15 days is what you can do, I think you should sell your company and become a consultant. You can actually, there will be hundreds of NBFCs running after you. 15 days. That's good.
15 days is really, it's not a sweat.
Excellent. I think so. With this we move to Shweta. You've just been out of, or maybe you're still in the process, and then 15 days is mostly looking very different for you. But I think what are the critical challenges you faced in sort of building the lending platform, and how would it be different now if you were to redo it? How would we do it differently? Maybe both the questions.
So first of all, I would like to continue from where Malcolm left. That yes, the business buy-in is very important. It is very important to understand that there is no project which is an IT project. It is always a business project, and IT is always a facilitator. This is the most common misunderstanding that people generally get. Okay, IT is supposed to drive it, IT is supposed to conceive it. Everything is IT's responsibility, which is actually not the fact. So, first, of course, I completely agree with Malcolm that there has to be a business buy-in and complete onus has to be on them. We can definitely be there for their support. Apart from that, there are multiple challenges that we faced, there are such frequent changes in the market in terms of digital lending. I specifically talk about there are so many changes that happen on a regulatory level as well as on the operational level. And every other day, there's a new technology that comes in which you are tempted to adopt. Like, for example, if I take the names, there's AA which is coming in now. It is so exciting to integrate with the AA platform, and then you'll be able to get so many details of the financial assets of the customer, which will help you in underwriting. So many things keep coming up, and if you've not planned, which obviously you would not have, is because it was not in the market, you did not plan it that way, it becomes extremely difficult to now accommodate it. So by hearing to everybody, now I feel that I should have also taken up something like a low-code platform, which could have helped me to very easily integrate all of that, and could have been at par with the market trend. But I'll definitely figure out how do I do that now. Other thing is the business. The business is evolving at a very fast pace. So there is so much of competition around, and everybody is doing something differently and more innovative way than you would have initially planned. So that is also important to adopt, and agility, of course, is there, that the expectation is to adopt the change and still able to deliver within the time frame that you've decided initially. So that is extremely big as a challenge. Deviations, I would say, in terms of lending, there are a lot of deviations. So when you start thinking of a customer journey, you think about a straight through process. But when it comes to actually on ground activities, you realize there are 99.99% that the customer's journey is a deviation. So how do you accommodate and address all those scenarios also becomes a challenge. So like I said, we are running a prototype, and in that process, we realize that no two customer journey are same. So to conceive all of that in advance is a little difficult task. So when Malcolm said that there has to be a well-defined wireframe and process, it is absolutely extremely important. If it is not done, it becomes a very, very deterring factor. And last but not the least, skill set, like Jyoti also mentioned, that to find the right kind of skill set is extremely challenging. And we are based out of Chandigarh, so it is extremely difficult to find right kind of resource in the city.
No, I can understand. I can understand. I think one of the learning which I was reading some book a couple of days back, and it spoke about the world which is heading towards. It's a probabilistic world, right? Where if you do X, Y, and Z on something else will happen, right? And you have to see the result and move on. And our minds are always deterministic, right? Saying that, okay, if I do BTech, I will get a job of this lakhs, right? X is equal to Y. If you X plus Y, aloo plus gobi is aloo plus gobi, right? Aloo gobi sabzi, right? So that is how we are thinking. But in the new world, it's so different that you don't know, right? I've been working with my clients, and when I have to tell that, okay, how can we do this kind of lending? It's not possible. I think when BharatPay can do just based on UPI transaction lending, you have bank accounts and you can't do it lending on that. How is it possible? No, we can't do it because it's not something which we are used to. That's the world which we are sort of getting in. So this is good input from your side, Shweta. Jyoti, I think this, given that you are where you are in terms of journey and building it up, how, I think from a low-code perspective, how do you think that can help, that would help you in building the agility which is required? I think everybody's talking about agility because it's probabilistic world. Tomorrow, today's BNPL, much in cash advance, tomorrow will be something else. And COVID or some other thing will come all the time, right? How do you react? How do you do workflows which are different? How do you underwriting different? So I think I want to understand from your perspective, how low-code can help you doing that.
So, Samir, to just explain what we have done. So, we have chosen products wherever it is very, very stable, and you don't have to really do a lot of customization like LMS. LMS, I hardly see any kind of changes in that one. So, we have chosen a product route for that. So, when we were launching, the deadline was already decided, and we had to work backwards. Like I think in most of the projects, it happens like the product launch date gets decided, and then we all work backwards and all. So that has really, has put some certain kind of limitations. If I had to redo everything, even I would have, preferred to build our LOS on our own. So during that point in time, because of the time constraint and all, we have taken up only the digital journeys and all to do in-house, and rest of the things we have gone for the products, the LMS and all those parts. Now, suppose the low code is there. So if I would prefer low code platform, if it can give me a kind of, remove the vendor dependency, because why I'm not going for the products and all is because of mainly two reasons. One is a heavily vendor dependency, and you are bound to that vendor for long term, like every year all those AMCs, and you will be having the product upgrades, and you have to do the version upgrades. There's a lot of pain point for that. To avoid all those things, we prefer in-house because it gives a good control for me, and also through that actually agility comes in. So we have picked up the digital journeys, but 1 year back or 1.5 years back, this kind of skill set problem was not that much actually. So we were getting people and we were able to build the platform. So now I am facing this kind of issue of not able to get and the sustainability of that kind of model. So if this could have been envisaged, probably I would have gone with the low code platform, which would have kind of easily deployable or easily development skills and all. You may not be requiring that kind of skill set people and all. Definitely capability, that would have improved our kind of the launch plans or whatever, the agility and whatever you say. But that vendor dependency part is something which actually is a pain point. If it is going to continue, then probably I think that is where probably I would have done kind of deep dive and to understand what kind of advantages and all this would give. But hearing from all the other panelists and all, it seems to be a very agile, and someone was saying that 15-20 days would be the lead time for launching this thing. This seems to be very, very exciting, in fact.
Sure. This is good. This is damn good. To everyone who has any questions, please raise those questions on the chat box. We will ask these questions as we move towards the end. So we've allocated some 15-20 minutes just for question and answer. So we'll do that. So I think we are talking about low-code platforms as well, but I think it will be useful for all of us, Aditya, because you have been deploying. So what are the use cases which can be used, deployed on a low-code platform? LOS, we could understand what more we can do and where it will accelerate the whole framework. It can be on collections, it can be in some internal workflow. What are the use cases you have seen and you would envisage for low-code platform?
Yeah. So hearing low code, it seems that we'll be able to implement it anywhere where we need code. So it would be great if we can put it in every place that we have to build a code. But probably right now, what the most important thing is that places where we have a lot of flux in terms of changes is where we should start with these low code platforms. So for me, say the LOS is a place which is the most dynamic place where we are having ideas and having integrations and having workflow changes on a very regular and fast basis. So LOS seems to be a very prominent candidate for implementing a low-code platform. And collections is also a place where we can enhance the journeys using low-code platforms by not just focusing on how to do the collections and how to build applications to do those collections, but actually getting involved in the business processes to understand where the challenges are. So say recently when we were reviewing our agents' performance in terms of their ability to collect. So there we found that people had to travel a lot to reach different destinations and collect from individual borrowers. So we presented a map of their travels to them, for them to analyze that how they are utilizing their time in terms of reaching their different destinations. So now what has happened because of that is that people are able to analyze that if they are wasting time in terms of traveling by the wrong mode or the wrong directions, and they can optimize their visits based on that map. So these kind of things are achieved because these are easy to turn around, and business also sees the benefits of them instantly. Sometimes what happens is these kind of ideas come up and it takes a lot of time to implement, then business probably a lot of time loses interest and things go in cold storage and never get utilized as they should be. So I think these kind of places where we should use low code. But having said that, I think it's still a lot of challenge in terms of low code, primarily coming from the expectation rise that will happen. Once you tell your business teams that I am going to build this in a low code platform, then immediately the expectation, the understanding from a low code is that it will be fast and very first time right kind of thing. So the expectation also changes because of that. So that should be kept in mind while we are going through this platform.
No, excellent. I got it. I think, and moving on to Shashank, from your side, I think you have been, I think amongst all of us, one of the largest users, right? So what are the use cases you have deployed in, and what are the benefits you have seen from the business perspective, top line, bottom line? better customer engagement, able to launch products, anything you want to get. Use cases and the benefits.
See, use cases wise, I think literally the sky is the limit. I mean, speaking of out systems, if one would just go to the Forge marketplace, you will find close to 400 or 500 plugins available out there. You know, it's identical feeling to you going on the App Store or Play Store, you know, browsing through the features of plugins that you want, selecting them, installing them on the fly, and using them. You know, there are crazy things like lead generation forms, image to text, OTP generators. You know, I mean, literally news feeds, RSA signatures, Hyperledger, blockchain, crypto related plugins, etc. So I think you can use it anywhere and everywhere that you want it, especially in places wherein you have any kind of custom development required or any automation required or any repetitive task. I think low code is the holy grail that you can easily use. Nothing beats the you know, quick iterative delivery and quick turnaround time for that. Speaking about Edelweiss, we have already, our entire LOS has been built on low code. We started with the MSME LOS in sometime, I think March, and we are already done with it. It was done in about 6 months. We are working on the same for the housing loan business. It should be out by December. Our entire lead generation is on low code. We have developed our own CRM internally on low code. Our customer reach out initiatives, our SMSs and OTP generating gateways, our Power BI plugins, our entire reporting MIS, and all you know, lead generation initiatives that we do, what we call as digital marketing initiatives. They are all on low code. I mean, anything that can be thought of can be built on low code. That's what I feel.
तो मेरी तो किस्मत ही खराब हो गई, right? In my time, I never used it, right? So I don't know what I was using, right? So this is good. This is good. At least the new generation is getting those advantages, right? This is super. This is super. And moving to Devang, from your perspective, I think how can sort of local platforms help you on the being on the edge of the innovation, right? Because we want to be ahead, right? I think this is the world where you have to launch faster. So from an innovation perspective, how local platforms can be of much help?
So Samir, just to tell you, every time a new generation which comes up now will be always at an advantage, thanks to the efforts of the previous one. Now coming back to your question, you know, see there are five senses that a human being has. You know, sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Now, out of which the most important or the most connecting one, as far as the software is concerned, is that of sight. And I think OutSystems or any low-code platform leverages it in a big way. So if you see the mock-ups to product, okay, the Singh is believing philosophy that you know, is behind the wireframing ethos is very, very important. And even if you see the way of coding which is there, the visual way of coding, if you see when you look at lines and lines of code, you might lose the context. But when there is a visual way of coding things or visual way of working, implementing your code onto a ecosystem, it becomes very, very easy for one to understand and kind of make change to it. That is one of the reason why the change management will be faster in the low code platform. The another element which everybody touched upon and mentioned about it was the time to market. So from a problem to a product, how soon can you move? So that is something that is very, very helpful in these platforms. So these are the three main things. And on the now looking on, these are on the development side of things, but there are many other things is in a software development which is very, very important, and which kind of as you grow you kind of realize the importance to it. So one is the legacy debt. So as we grow, we find that anybody having crossed around 5 to 7 years of uh, uh, technical experience would vouch for it that the time to upgrade, the stress to upgrade, or the element of movement of servers are a big stress to the team. So when there is a when a particular product has reached a certain maturity and is able to provide the service, I think one of the reasons why cloud adoption is so quick is to get rid of legacy debt. So that these kind of mature tools help us there. The other is the DevOps. If you see in the last couple of years, DevOps has, we have even variations of DevOps, SecDevOps, which has come up. And these are the ones which that is tightly integrated in the product currently in our system. So that helps you there. And most importantly, it helps you from the perspective of security recommendations as well. So those nuances which a developer may miss is recommended by our system. So these are a few of the low code advantages that one has and one can leverage in order to give a better product to the business.
That's good. That's good. Maybe I'll ask someone that what are the disadvantages also, right? Kuch to disadvantage honge. It looks too good to be true, right? So I'll talk about it later, maybe. But thanks, Devang, for this guidance. This is good. Maybe I'll ask you yourself, right? What are the disadvantages of using it?
So you want me to answer that, Samir?
Should I? Hard one, right? It's looking too sweet, right? So it will be useful for...
It is. So I think, see, if somebody, one of the arrangement, if you see the platform is not going to come for free, right? So one is there is a initial seeding cost which will be there. Now, when you have these newer platforms which are coming in, you will also need to have the amount of skills in order to manage these platforms. Now, these skills will be probably to an extent will be at a premium because they are not highly available in the market, and hence by the time you create your own cheap workforce by recruiting freshers and managing that, you will have to pay that additional premium pricing which is there. Okay, so these are the two main advantages which I can see when I'm looking at these platforms. Barring that, I think with the great, but see, the one of the major problem areas that we had talked about during our conversation was change management and the ability to service business faster. Now, when these two are met, and if with these two, if you are able to create a unique business advantage in the business that you are in, okay, then it will definitely pay off. So that then you will reach that TCO faster. So you would have heard colleagues of mine mentioning that in 15 days we are able to dish out products, in 30 days we are able to dish out products. So maybe we are also in the journey right now. We have not reached to that. So maybe in say 90 days when we are able to dish out a product, and if that product we are able to be agile and quickly mold into the areas where it helps the need of the people or the business, then it will be really worth the money, right?
No, I
That's
agree.
the idea.
I think this is perfect. So let's move to Amal, from your perspective. What are the long-term benefits the institutions can have by deploying these platforms, right? What are the benefits long-term?
Well, to name a few, the first one, I think everybody has been talking about the need for agility. I mean, we need to be agile. So I think that agility is on multiple dimensions. It could be your technology, it could be your process, it could be on your people and skills. I think Jyoti was mentioning that going ahead, she's finding it quite hard to find the right skills. And I think the problem is just going to grow. It's not going to be swept under the anytime sooner. As I say, I mean, there was Angular, then now you have Flutter, then tomorrow some other Mutter or whatever. So I think, and businesses are not IT companies to keep training people, growing them, and then give them wings to fly, which is a hard problem actually. So one thing is you get improved agility when you're using the keyword. There is a right low code platform. There could be many. So you need to do your due diligence to find out if it is fitting your use cases. So that's where a right low code platform will give you improving agility, the first benefit in the long run. Then we talk about, I mean, for example, Shweta was talking about user journeys and customer journeys. I mean, the right low-code platform is able to give you a continuous journey. I mean, you have different form factors, you have different customer journeys. All of this, if you're able to give an omni-channel or a multi-channel experience. So multi-experience. Now people are talking about voice. And then, I mean, a lot, I don't want to talk about technology buzzwords, but I mean, all these are opening up a bunch of opportunities. So giving up this multi-experience use cases, I mean, the right low-code platform like OutSystems. I mean, we have been there, done that, and some of the proponents in the panelists have, I mean, I'm quite happy to say that, I mean, as the one who has introduced OutSystems to them. So, I mean, it's quite, I mean, Samir, I feel that I'm not needed here because they've been doing a fantastic job talking their experiences. And then one from the technology standpoint, I think insulating against technology changes, I think that is a critical benefit. What I mean by that is, say today, as I told you, today you're talking about Angular or some technology, and you've built invested heavily, and now next year or the next generation tech has made it obsolete. I mean, what do you do? I mean, do you again rewrite? Do you again keep your modern applications to be modern by rewriting? A lot of energy is getting to just keeping the lights on, as they call. I mean, rather than doing your actual innovation, your business, you're spending 20, 30, or even 40% in just trying to keep your lights running on. So that's where a good low-code platform, I mean, for example, what OutSystems does is there are use cases where even people have been running the platform for around 10 to 12 years. Their applications are still running on modern architectures. How does it do that? I mean, typically low-code platforms have some kind of a model-driven development. So you're building visual models, and the platform does the heavy lifting of building the code, compiling it, checking for security standards, etc. So whenever a technology shift happens, say you were using .NET Forms around 5 years back, now you have MVC, and tomorrow you have the .NET Core. So it's the platform's responsibility to ensure that from your visual models that you're building, you're generating latest code, which is always fresh. So that means that, okay, I'll talk of one more last benefit at the end, but what it means is that once this experience of doing the heavy lifting on security, so you don't have security experts, or you don't need them, because the platform where the code which is generated by the platform takes care of security, takes care of deployments. So you don't need large teams. And then the dependency of people, I mean, the critical problem that Jyoti was talking about. So when the people leave, most of the time in traditional way, I mean, their experience goes away with them. Whereas when you have, and that's what Devang was suggesting. I mean, when you make visual models, this logic or this visual way is in the platform. And if these are open source kind of platforms where they don't generate any proprietary code, then you don't have a lock-in problem, which means that the way you want to walk out of the platform, you get everything, you've not lost anything. Only thing is have gained time. So that's what the third point I was talking about, insulating across technology changes. And I have concrete use cases where 10-year-old systems which are developed in OutSystems version 6 or 7, if you see in the latest version of 11, now all those applications are now single page applications. At that point of time, single page application didn't even exist 10 years back. So, I mean, there is a little bit of work to do when you want to migrate, want to upgrade. It's not a very rosy picture, but nevertheless, much, much better than you having to rewrite everything and lose all your knowledge. So that's a key takeaway in the long run. And the moment this heavy lifting is done out, then I mean, you have all the time in the world to innovate. I mean, I would say, rather than saying fail fast, I would rather say it's more like learn early. I mean, when Malcolm says that he can dish out in 15 days, and Shashank talks about building high impact projects in one sprint. I mean, this is not something to just, I mean, take it lightly. I mean, powerful impact. I mean, if you see, I mean, a lot of innovation now we are talking in sprints and not talking of days or years, or I mean, we are talking of weeks. And this is a multi-journey experience. You do it on the web, you come to a mobile, then you need offline capabilities, you need progressive adapts. I mean, the right platform if you use, I mean, I do not want to say right platform, OutSystems, but we have seen OutSystems doing this time in, time out for almost last 20 years. The platform has been. And last but not least, I think in various forums or in some that we have talked about legacy debt. But I think the hard-hitting problem that if anything is there in the market is tech debt. I mean, you have skills of different people building applications over time, and then your technical debt is increasing. And there's an article which was saying that in the coming 10 years, the amount of budget to just manage your tech debt is $5 trillion. I'm sure all of the panelists here and who have done large engagements would understand when I say tech debt. So the best thing is, I mean, if, and in the BFI space, I was doing some research and found out that about 30% of the IT spend is only going to manage your tech debt. And imagine if that could be put into innovation. So that's where I think, I mean, when you are using the right low-code platform and the modern app development frameworks, you're able to integrate fast, develop your own. And the key there is custom development. I mean, here we are not talking, I mean, there's a question you talked about buy versus build. Here we are not talking about you take a component and customize it. Okay, if you have a use case which is exactly a LMS system that meets your need, do it. I mean, we are not saying that, I mean, for everything low code is the panacea or it's a silver bullet. Whenever the keyword is, whenever you want to do some custom development and it is hard to do that custom bespoke development, that's where low code platforms will definitely prove their weight in gold. Yeah, and I'd like to add one more thing. I think, again, a tool is only a tool to that extent. So what I would mean by saying is that embracing these proper right low-code platforms and having an engineering approach. I mean, if you don't do the homework and take the right engineering approach to solve it, because the platform does the heavy lifting, you also need to have a discipline on how to use the platform. So that is quite crucial. If not, I mean, it's very easy that hey, somebody promised us in 10 days, we can do this, but if you're not following an engineering approach towards it, I mean, identify your use cases, map them properly. I mean, do your due diligence. Then, I mean, the 15 days sprint of 2 weeks plus 10 days. I mean, these are not all magic. I mean, this will work for everyone and it's repeatable. Yeah. So I think I've spoken enough about the benefits, Samir.
No, okay, this is great. This is great. I think at this point of time, we'll try to take. I think there are a couple of questions online. So, Vivek, you want to shoot your question? Vivek Arora?
Hey, Samir, hi. Am I audible?
Yes, you may introduce yourself and we can start.
Hi, folks. My name is Vivek Arora. I work with Ernst & Young in the IT transformation team. So we've done multiple strategies, large transformations. So I have one question. Again, I'm playing devil's advocate here. Is that, while, all of us have spoken and we, in terms of the advantages of low-code platforms and in certain use cases, it makes sense, for example, for LOS. But my larger question is that typically in case if we adopt this and, we have a team who's doing the in-house development, definitely in the short term, we see some benefits. But the question is that, there are product companies who focus day in, day out on this one. Now, when we are doing this in-house, we are limited by what we know, what we see, or what the team is doing, as compared to a product company, which may be working with, say, 10 different clients, trying to bring in efficiencies from the other clients also. So in that case, how does that balance happen?
Shashank, you want to take it because you're right now deploying it. Shashank, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So a great question. What I would
Thanks, Shashank.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, so what I would suggest is, valid points that you have. My only question or rather counter question to that is, see, whenever you adopt any new technology, there is always a flip side, right? The knack is to know what the flip sides are. Honestly, about OutSystems and low code in general, I think many people have had questions on, okay, we are onboarding onto it, that's the easy part. What if tomorrow, God forbid, for some reason, we are unable to afford it? We are, there is a change in management, we want to move out of it. We want to go back on conventional .NET or, Angular, React, Perl, Python stack. Again, what do we do? So again, I'll be very honest, there is no easy way of coming out of it. But my counter question to that is, why would you let go of something if it is too good to be continuing to use it, right? I saw a couple of questions pertaining to compliance, security, elegance of code, SDLC, etc. on the chat window. Let me tell you, going by my first-hand experience around systems, you define the functionality and workflow within the low-code IDE. The application writes its own elegant code on its own accord. It opens up only requisite set of ports, protocols, services as requested by you when you are doing development. And hence, by default, everything that is not required is turned off. That's the fundamental principle on which most of these platforms go, right? Now, you mentioned about product companies versus in-house teams and all. So let me be very candid. At Edelweiss, when I joined, we had a team that believed in making changes twice or thrice a day, let alone in a period of sprint or something, right? So we got to discipline the team and tell them, look, guys, you need to define what you want to do first. Yes, you always have the flexibility of playing around, tinkering around, doing R&D and all that stuff, but please decide what you want to build. Give a moderate enough time window to build it, which is, by the way, only 15 days. I'm not asking 6 months, right? It's not a big bang. It's like cumulative piecemeal delivery. So whatever you define today, let us build it for 15 days. Thereafter, you come back to us and come back with suggestions. We are okay for that, which is how it works. In fact, OutSystem promotes what they call as a digital factory. And we strongly believe at Edelweiss, my team is only as large as what I can feed them with half a full-size pizza, right? So business loan has been built entirely on a team of 5 people, 3 developers, 1 product guy, and 1 business guy. The same model applies even for the housing loan. So imagine the velocity that you are delivering value with. Imagine the amount of changes that you're picking up at the end of every sprint. Imagine the total cost of running that small, tightly coupled team. And you run this in agile model, you track everything on Jira, you have a winner on your hands.
Vivek, does it align to your thing, or you had anything else to ask, Vivek?
No. I see what happens is typically. So I agree to all of that, Shashank. I'm not challenging. I'm just citing a practical situation, and I'll tell you where my question is coming from. So I've had discussions with some of the clients. Let's not get into that in the names. And so what has happened is that they have started developing a lot of these in-house capabilities. Now, again, for your team, it's working great. It's fantastic. Ideally, that is how it's supposed to work. But the question which the gentleman I was speaking to put across to me is that how do we bring in the efficiencies in this whole SDLC? So while they are also going agile way, they're trying to build an in-house. What are the get rights which you may have got it in place, whereas maybe some of the others are still on the learning curve. So that is where the question was that, is it easier? I know, and believe me, I've dealt with multiple implementations right now. I'm in the middle of a large one. Is that what works? So maybe what are the get rights which you have followed in terms of ensuring that the SDLC cycle, or when you're taking in requirements, as you said that it's a small team which is doing a lot of work, but in terms of the operating model, how does it work? Maybe yeah.
So first thing we did was discipline ourselves. We put a foot down saying, guys, we are one team, we got to follow all agile. Everything that we think of has to translate as a user story and has to be logged on Jira. Anything that is not logged on Jira and does not have a Jira ID doesn't exist, period, right? So once we log user stories on Jira, we then translate those user stories as story points. Again, going by agility fundamental, right? The agile mindset. For a team of 5 people, in which we have only 3 developers, my current velocity of burning a sprint is 27 story points, right? For 3 guys, burning 27 story points in a span of 15 days of development is what my velocity is. It might vary for every organization because the speed with which every developer churns out deliverable code varies. But on a ballpark, if it's a pessimistic and optimistic, it will vary between, when I have like ridiculously complex piece of code to build, it comes down to 20. But when it is very simple or any conventional run-on-the-go kind of stuff, we do 27 story points every sprint. So then I know that I can burn anywhere between 22 to 23 story points every 15 days. And hence, I need to be very disciplined on defining only those things which add business value. I will not build anything which says mera wala pink, tera wala green. No, I will build something which is usable and tangible for the business. And I think more than anything else, it is about self-discipline. We have gone through that. We are still going through it. Change management is the single most largest detrimental in adoption of any technology, let that be low code or agile or anything else. That's what my experience is.
And thanks, Shashank. It's really useful. Yeah.
And given Aditya and Malcolm, both of you have also done these activities. Maybe you want to give a quick perspective from both of your side. Malcolm first, maybe. Sir, आप mute पे हैं.
Sorry, Samir. Yeah. I didn't get what you were asking me on.
No. I'm just saying that perspective he was asking on Vivek. You want to take a shot at that? Given
Yeah,
that you have also done a lot of implementation. So you are trying to figure out standardized product versus low code. How would you get all the nuances in? So since you are doing it ground up, you will have all the sort of pocket knowledge and also behind it, or you have to build on your own.
No, I think it's a very it depends on what is your approach, and my philosophy is very simple. I will not go by a product centric approach. I will go by a customer centric approach. My customer is different from my competitor, from my peer, from any other company which is there, because I know what my customer wants. So even while the product company or the product or a standard offering which is there, they will always have the standard bells and whistles. But I would like to customize my offering based on my customers. So if I am very clear that this is my customer, this is my offering. It is good to have all the intelligence of a company, implementing it across five different institutions or 10 different institutions. And maybe that could be something that will work in various segments. So there is no right answer for this, Samir. My view is it depends on what is your philosophy. My philosophy is I want to have all the controls in my hand. I want to have it curated for the customer experience whom I meet every day. There may be other people who want to have the controls in the hands of someone else, and based on that, they will always have a to and fro, and they'll say, fine, we are a large scalable organization, monolithic stuff. We may not be able to do that every day, but maybe it might work if it's a pan-India company. See, India is a country of countries, in effect. Yeah, every place, every location, every state is so different, and the practices, especially in housing finance, are so different. So we always want to be agile on these aspects, and we can make the changes on the ground running up. So that's my view. But I'll again say there's no right answer for this. It depends on what is the stage of evolution of the company and how large is the company.
Fair. Maybe Aditya, to you, the question is slightly different. From an overall cost perspective, would you think it will be much more beneficial to go this way? Because there's initial cost involved, and then while we will, I don't know, how do you think from a resourcing perspective, people perspective, time perspective, do you think the cost-wise it will be better? Because I can see business-wide benefits, but as a cost of ownership becomes too much, right? Do you think that, do you have any view on that?
So I think yes, the cost and the initial phases would look to be high. It will be high because you are trying to shift from an existing system, even if it is not a low-code platform, whatever system you want to shift to. If you are changing, there would be intermediate cost which you'll have to bear. In this case, it's not just the platform based because of the way the IT operations will change and the skill sets needed that will change. So that all will add to the cost. But if you look at the long-term perspective and you think that this is going to help you in terms of time to market and the flexibility and configurability that you want to bring in, then I think that that is where you have to decide which way you want to go.
Got it.
And from that, one more thing that I would like to add is that from the build and buy perspective, my view is that we can take help for all the peripheral things that say a financial services company would not be or will not have an IT that is so mature to do those kind of things. And those small components can be outsourced, or you can have platforms or other kind of tools to help you in that. But the core thing that distinguishes you as a company should be, so that you can, as Malcolm also said, you can be up and running with new ideas as quickly as possible.
Fantastic. Maybe the same question to you, Jyoti, build versus buy, and what to build and what to buy. I think people keep asking. I always say customer facing, everything should be in our hand. It changes all the time. The core platform should be with us. It should be built by us. But assessment should be done differently, right? But from your perspective, because you're so deep, what would be the things which you would say buy versus build? And if you build, you will logically maybe move towards a low code maybe. But build versus buy, where will your thought process be?
So, Samir, actually, in the build versus buy, and even in this question, so but the similar thought process is there. Actually, wherever you are having many more changes and you want to do it in a different way, the way you want to do in your organization, which is not there in the standard products, and also those kind of journeys, those kind of products, those kind of systems, you should not be having as a product, because that will put as a kind of constraint, because product will have its own life cycle, and it will have its own release cycles, and you may have to wait for other customers versions also get merged, and it will come as a big release, and all these constraints will be there, and till that time you don't have that patience of the waiting, and your business will not wait definitely for that. So all those journeys where actually I am seeing frequent changes, and for the customer service we want to differentiate ourselves from others, all those things we have done as a bespoke development, which is in-house team. So low code platform, I will come to that later, but it is kind of built with a normal Java platform type of code. Their agility may be I think a factor which low code platform or no code platforms might help us. And the second thing is, how do you benchmark yourself? For this question, I think this is a very interesting question. So once you build, you can't be just saying that, okay, I have built, now my job is over. So you will have to really benchmark what kind of things are happening. Suppose we have built a CRM in-house. So that is because we have not found any kind of other product CRMs fitting to our complete needs. And some are very huge and some are not actually doing the way that we want and all. We built our CRM in-house. So now in this case, I can't be just saying that CRM is now ready and I can be taking rest. No, we do the benchmarking every quarter. So what kind of different things are there with the market leaders and all, and what we are lacking and what best we can do. So this is a kind of roadmap for the internal developed products also you should be having. This is a kind of little bit burden on the CTOs or CIOs, I must say, but this is a must have. Otherwise, you will be left with the old kind of the legacy platforms. You will be building the legacy platforms. Today, one technology is there, tomorrow it will get outdated. Similarly, you are not having the features, your business will definitely say that that product is having that feature, why our CRM is not having. So this is an ongoing journey, as we have to do this kind of comparison and then keep on upgrading our products. It's a kind of product in-house for us.
Okay, excellent. And maybe Shweta, from your perspective, build versus buy and how. And I'll give you one pointer. Maybe Jyoti, you were saying about this version change. I mean, when technology team, I mean, when platform owner says that मेरे next 2 साल वाले version में roadmap में है, इसका मतलब है कि आप बेवकूफ बन चुके हो, आपसे कुछ होने वाला नहीं है, और मेरे बाद में जो आएगा उसको पीछे पड़ना, 2 साल तक मेरे पीछे मत आना. I had a platform. Honestly, it took me a humongous amount of flights to Delhi to get it done. Huge number of flights. I was literally running their business to get the new version out. New version came and we went live with it. Somehow we went live with it, but they didn't have APIs. And they said for next version, for the version upgrade, come in 2017. So I can tell you it was onerous task for us to get around. APIs नहीं करते हमारे इस version में नहीं है, 2 साल तक नहीं आने वाला. I mean, how can you handle that? I think the world is about ensuring that either the vendor is agile or we become agile on our own, get rid of that old word. So maybe from your perspective, Shweta, build versus buy, and what will be your thought process around how would you take this decision?
So in our case, Samir, it is very evident we've lived both. We started with a buy and have landed up on a build. So it clearly shows that what has been our understanding and what is our priority right now. But it is a very thin line that is between build and buy, which mainly depends business to business. What is the priority like? And if you take anything off the shelf, like Vivek asked this question that should you buy a off the shelf product? Yes, you get a lot of learning and industry best practices, which as a starter, you may not be mature enough to, do it on your own. But gradually, when you have your own differentiators identified, you have your unique offerings, you will not find any perfect fit kind of an solution available. And then you'll end up doing building your own application, which we have eventually started doing. So it is all about what exactly do you want to offer. In fact, there are multiple KPIs. How soon you want to hit the market? How mature are your internal processes? Are you clearly, have you clearly defined your, offerings to the customer? Have you defined your tags for each process? Have you done the TCO and ROI exercise, cost benefit analysis internally? So all of that brings finally the outcome that comes gets you to the decision whether you should build or buy, which in our case is definitely a build now.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And I think we're running short of time. Maybe before we close, Amal, from your perspective, what should organization get ready for? I mean, when they have to adopt this platform for org structure perspective, skills perspective, how do they get ready? I think skills is a big, big challenge, right? So how do you handle that? I think that will be something which I would really want to learn from you.
Yes, I mean, so I think I have seen, I mean, typically, what I see about a few companies that organizations typically perceive them unique in three areas, either their processes, their culture, and their ITs. So they think, I mean, mostly everybody are unique in some aspect, right? So now, depending on the maturity of the organization, I see a couple of approaches. One is either you identify your most high impacting processes or change that you want to manage first and go a big bang, wherein you try to solve your hardest problem first using the low code platform. For that, you need to have maturity. So then that's where organizations need to take a stand. Do we build that skill in-house, or do we choose a right partner who has the skills, who is able to bring it? And slowly, then gradually you convert that into in-house. That is one approach. And the other approach is basically you look at those use cases which are your low-hanging fruit. I mean, organizations can start with small wins in the organization, because normally what I have seen is there's a lot of apprehension when it comes to low code. I mean, our thoughts mostly are still that low code is nothing but some version of a RAD. So it will generate some code, I have to do all the lifting. We have come a long way from there in the low code space, wherein now we're able to build enterprise web and mobile. I mean, OutSystems provides you a complete range of both, almost all the use cases that one can envision. That's what Shashank was saying. Sky is also maybe not the limit nowadays. So having said that, when you are looking at low-hanging fruit, I think the benefit of the second approach, where you start small, is you get buy-in. We have seen organizations which have been apprehensive and thinking everybody say, oh, low code is this, low code is that. But there's a lot of, also we have seen developer resistance. I mean, everything is a hammer to a carpenter. We have seen a few customers where they have a large .NET house. So even if after buying OutSystems, they still would prefer to go and do it in the .NET way. Because a bit of unlearning, culture change, and also mindset change, I think these are some barriers that organizations should overcome. And having said that, I mean, when you go with the low code or rather the low hanging fruit approach, what you typically get is you get more buy-in from more stakeholders because they're tasting success. You see, hey, this took me 6 months, now I'm able to do it in 2 weeks. So then slowly, then, okay, where can we do this next use case, slightly complex. So in this process, gradually what you do is you end up building a kind of a COE. I mean, Shashank called it as a center of excellence, or something like a core team, a factory. So basically that's what you end up building. So the moment you, with your agility, you build up a core factory or a center of excellence, then using low code is a matter of configuration. I mean, the simplest example is, I mean, OutSystems provides you a modular way of approach. You start building your building blocks like Legos, and once you have a decent set of building blocks, now you're able to compose. I mean, you want a lending solution, you compose all your domain models, and you want a lending solution. You want to do something with credit risk, you want to do something with whatever is the use case. You already have a lot of it available. So then people are talking. So I think when Malcolm talks about it, or when Shashank is talking about it, essentially what they have done or would have done is they started a small journey, and then slowly they built that digital factory in-house, so that now they're able to compose these applications and have 15 days, 2 weeks, one sprint. So when you're talking this, so that is how the company has matured over time. And they would have gone with an engineering approach. They would have taken the right platform, say like OutSystems, and then they've done their journey, they've done their homework. Shashank talks about discipline, which is quite important. So I think these are how companies can approach low code. Yeah, again, it's always there. I mean, again, when we talk of low code here, we don't need, I think, Shashank, again, I would like to quote, because they've been there, done that. So with 3 people, imagine you're managing 10 systems, 20 systems. I mean, it might look, hey, this is too good to be true. But when you follow an engineering approach and you're able to build this customizable bespoke development, then managing change is very easy. You precisely, your visual models know what you have to change, and you do it right the first time. I mean, the key is that, I mean, if you're able to do it right the first time and not iterate, and then you are losing steam, and then you say, hey, I spent 2 months on the platform, still I don't get value. So that's because, I mean, we have followed some non-engineering approach, or we try to do it. Kisi ne bola tha, we do it. So an engineering approach is needed, and that's where you, I mean, that also solves your problem of where Jyoti is saying, how do we handle this? You don't need large teams. You need very small teams which can be in-house. And then there are lots of partners in OutSystems who can train you, get you started on the first project. And OutSystems itself helps you to help you with the first project. So they handhold you kind of a thing with the nuances so that you do it right the first time. And then these skills, I mean, if you have, I think in some of our discussion, we talked about what are the skills needed. I think in my opinion, if you have good problem solving skills and can think like an engineer, I mean, it is very easy to embrace low code platform OutSystems. And then it's a full services stack. I mean, you have front end, back end, also complete BPM, which is quite a challenge. When you talk of processes, the biggest challenge I've seen companies facing is they have complex line of business processes, which traditionally they cannot code in, say, in Java or .NET, because it's too complex to visualize. That's the first problem. If you're not able to visualize, then what you want and what you get are entirely tangentials. So, but in OutSystems, when you talk of BPM, you can see that it's a visual tool. And the biggest takeaway that I see is that, I mean, you're engaging business analysts. I mean, so far we would teach business to the IT guys, and IT guys would try to model or write and do everything with processes. I mean, a term which is very much coming up in this area is citizen developers. So I think a lot of people would have heard of it. Citizen developers are essentially not professional developers who are building software. Maybe your business analysts. So they have a good understanding of business, but you're really not using them, because either they write some requirements, and by the time the IT translates it, a lot of thing is lost. So, I mean, low code platforms are enabling you to also make your business as IT developers. I mean, it gives you a framework where they can build their own systems and also guide the IT. I think the byproduct, there's a good cohesion between business and IT when you're talking of low code platforms. And that is a key takeaway, I believe, wherein your business is directly helping you. Okay, they have an idea to innovate. They don't need to know technology. I mean, so basically what they do, they come on the platform in the visual stack, they're able to build 80%, 90%. And then, for example, now what OutSystems is specifically doing in the last 1 year, I mean, so that just to put things to perspective is, we are giving accelerators, which means that a business analyst can just now come and use this accelerator or a builder. So I want to talk to 10 different systems. So I don't need to know REST, I don't need to SOAP, I don't need to know database. I mean, in a declarative way, I know what I want from where I want it. So this enables the business guys, so that a lot of barriers, hey, I don't know how to develop this, but I have a good idea. So the business itself is able to generate a lot of innovation. I think that is a key takeaway that the low code platforms are enabling, and OutSystems in particular. And I've seen this in many use cases, and maybe you have 3 or 4 use cases in the forum itself, where they have been there and done that.
Oh, excellent.
They're more stronger proponents than me.
No, I heard that. I think this is now a fear of missing out, right? FOMO ho gaya mere ko. Maybe I have to go back and become a CTO and then push it back to business. You do it, don't come back. And I am now maybe sitting on the other side. But this super session, I think I really enjoyed that from a knowledge perspective, and very, very different nuances which sort of were brought in by each one of you. So thank you, Aditya. Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you, Shashank. Thank you, Shweta, Jyoti, Devang, and Amal. I think all the questions or all the responses were like very deep from your side. And बुढ़ापे मेरा एक benefit है, right? I can ask any questions like मुझे तो पता नहीं, मेरे ज़माने में नहीं था, right? So it's easier that way. But good to get the perspective. Thank you. Thanks to everyone for sort of sharing, and thanks Headfitted for organizing. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Sathe.
Thank you, everyone.
Enjoyed thoroughly.
Bye.
Thank you, folks. Take care. Stay safe.